If you are ready to say yes to happiness and see ya to overwhelm, click subscribe so that you can learn tangible tricks on exactly how to do that. Today, we're talking about finding your life's purpose. And maybe it's the groups that I subscribe to, but there seems to be a lot of talk about this these days. And I have a completely different opinion on this. Like, some of the advice that I'm seeing out there actually infuriates me because I think it's just going to lead to more frustration and more confusion. I see a lot of advice like create a vision statement. Okay, but how? Like, I obviously don't know if I'm seeking help on this. And if I do manage to write one out, how am I supposed to take my crazy, chaotic life and start moving it towards that vision? I know I was super frustrated when I started learning this, and I can see other people confused and frustrated, and it just breaks my heart. So today, I'm going to share my take on finding your purpose in the hopes that it gives you some insight into your life and how you can start living happier and more fulfilled and more purposeful. So in order to do this, to get started, we have to go back to the beginning, back to your childhood, when your mind started figuring out how it wanted you to show up in the world. And the first thing it wants to do is, or it wants to tell you to do, is stay part of a group. Because as a social species, that's how we survive. Our group starts with our family, and then it expands into our classroom, and then like the broader world as we go through our experiences, as we are exposed to the media. And so our mind notices when our parents praise us, and our mind notices what makes them angry. Our mind notices what gets us liked and accepted by our peers, and what gets us rejected. And so our mind starts to create programs that are designed to keep us safe. And our programs also tell us to hide certain parts of ourselves that our mind thinks will be rejected, like anything relating to emotions or any parts of you that may be perceived as different from the group that you're trying to fit into, and the parts that your mind thinks will get you a negative reaction, which is why we end up as grown-ups with no boundaries, with people-pleasing tendencies, who continuously stuff down our feelings and are afraid to speak up lest we rock the boat. Here is us as a young child in our unique glory, unencumbered by what anyone else thinks. And if we were to be, celebrated for all of the weirdness that makes us, us, then we would grow and stay exactly as we are. And our path would look something like this. This is our true self, all grown up. Thumbs up. That never happens. Instead, we grow up with tons of outside influences, and we change ourselves to adapt, which is a beautiful talent that we all have. We change how we act, how we dress, and how we present ourselves in the world. And along the way, we start feeling deep shame about the parts of ourselves that don't fit the mold, and we hide them. I'm going to use myself as an example. My natural self is loud and creative and fun-loving, and I have no filter at all. And you can imagine how that went over in my relationships with my parents and my teachers and my peers. Pretty much all the time I said the wrong thing because it all just comes out. All my inside thoughts come out, which made my peers, sometimes they appreciated that, but most of the times they just laughed at me. And sometimes it hurt my friendships because they had their programming too. And their programming says, weird girl, doesn't fit in. I don't want to be associated with that. And so through all of this, I learned to hide my feelings, silence my way too loud voice, dressed like everyone else. I fit myself into a professional persona, which took a lot of effort because That's both like a physical appearance that I had to appear professional, and I also had to use my voice and my words in a professional way. I had to be politically correct, which is not my forte. And I even learned how to force my body into an early morning 8 to 4 schedule, which is not at all my natural flow. And I was taught to ignore that natural flow, to ignore what my body wanted and the way that it wanted to work, because it didn't fit into what I was supposed to do. It didn't fit into the school hours or the work hours. So I had to hide that loud, boisterous, silly, usually inappropriate parts of myself so that I could become basically just another sheep in the herd. And so that I can do what I was supposed to do, which was, according to my programming, get a job, settle down, and have a family. And this is, really hard and semi-traumatizing. And that is as a cisgendered, heterosexual human. I cannot even imagine the suffering of people who had such more significant parts of themselves that they felt that they needed to hide. So here we are as this programmed version of ourselves, and we are all some version of this image. And depending on our experiences when we were growing up, some of us are kind of close to our true selves, which is great. And some of us are really, really far from it. And the further away we are, the more out of balance we feel, which leads to us feeling like anxiety and stress and frustration and anger. And this can lead to very serious consequences like depression and suicide, because our insides are at war. We have our true selves, which I call our soul, screaming at us to give it a voice. Hey, I'm here. And then we have our programmed selves, our mind, screaming at us that we are not good enough for society. We need to be better, do better, look better, try harder. And so our true self remains hidden at all costs by our mind, because our mind tells us that who we are brings us shame and rejection. And according to our mind, who's only concerned about safety, rejection and shame is going to mean death. It's going to mean exclusion from our group. And this is our mind BS. The BS that our mind screams at us in order to help us keep running our programs. So what does that have to do with finding your purpose? All right, here's the issue. If we are in our programmed self, which is at the far top end of our visual there, which most of us are, we are seeking our purpose through a programmed lens, a filter of our mind BS. So our mind goes something like, yes, a purpose that will help us be liked and fit in. Okay, let's find it. Your purpose has to be something that furthers your status in the herd. How many of you, if you answer it honestly, feel that your purpose has to be something like helping people? Like if someone asks you to brainstorm your purpose, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is, how can I be of service to others? How can I make myself useful to my fellow humans? Because that's where I was at, because that's what my programming told me I needed to be. So I'm going to ask you a tough question. Think about your body as I ask you this. What happens in your body if you say, my purpose is to do exactly what I want to do in any given moment? So for me, I just said that out loud, and I can tell you it rubs hard against my old programs, and I immediately get like a little nauseous. And when my programs are in danger, my mind BS starts shouting at me. You are selfish, irresponsible, flaky, self-indulgent, useless. Nobody will like you anymore if you do that as your purpose. Nobody will respect you anymore. No way, my mind BS screams. That cannot be right. Your purpose has to be something useful, like raising kids, or helping the poor, or making some phenomenal discovery that will help society for generations. Don't waste your potential. So here I am, back in my little visioning exercise that I was trying to do before, staring at a blank piece of paper that's supposed to have my full intentions for my life, and my insides are at war. My mind BS is screaming at me, and my soul is screaming something different. What do I write down? So my point is that it is super hard to figure any of this out as your programmed self. And I would go so far as to say that you only care about finding a purpose because your programs tell you that you should, or that it's going to bring you some desirable outcome like fulfillment or happiness or status. But the actual and only way to increase your fulfillment and happiness is actually to get closer to your true self. Some people call this finding yourself. Sure, whatever you want to call it. And this is not a simple process, especially because our mind is going to push against it every step of the way, because it has taken great pains over your entire lifetime to hide your true self and only show the parts of it that it thinks is going to help you to fit in. So here is my controversial opinion. I believe that we all have the exact same purpose. And that is to let your beautiful light shine for everyone to see. That's it. And I believe that your beautiful light will brighten the lives of those around you, everyone you come into contact, and will therefore make the world a better place. And each of our brilliance is a little bit different. Some of us are brightening the world with our stories or our humor, or some of us are brightening the world with our compassion and just a smile that makes somebody's day. Some of us are making videos or movies that make us laugh and help us feel seen and understood. And some of us are helping others by inventing new and helpful things. So when you start letting your brilliance shine, you will be helping others and you will be making the world a better place, just like your mind wants. But the big distinction here is that you are no longer coming at it from a place of should, like, oh, I see that guy doing amazing things and I should be doing that too. But that's their brilliance, their way of shining their light into the world, not your way. You do not need to copy somebody else or be somebody else or hide yourself in any way in order to be good enough. It's like trying to be a light versus letting your natural light just shine. So one is forced and depleted, and the other is natural and fulfilling. So instead of asking yourself, what's my purpose? I encourage you to ask instead, how can I reconnect with my true self? And the answer might come to you, which is amazing, but it might not. And if it doesn't, I can help you. I've created a program called Bridge to Your Best Life that will walk you through this process step by step. So you can create a bridge from your program self to your true self. So you can start feeling that weight of your old programming just fall off of your shoulders. And you can rise up as the strong, amazing, badass human that you know you are. So you've lived your entire life moving away from your true self. And this causes you to live in conflict, and it makes you unsure. It makes you have anxiety about life and your decisions and how you're supposed to be showing up in the world. But you don't have to feel like that anymore. You can start uncovering that brilliance within you, even if you're not quite ready for others to see it yet. And I'm going to tell you right now that it's a lot of work. Okay. Your mind BS has told you that your light is not good enough to be seen, and that vulnerability is weakness. That's a particularly effective lie that keeps so many of us from embarking on this type of quest where we look within. Because your mind says, do not look inside. You will not like what you see. Oh, it's scary. But if you can get past that dragon, the treasure within you it's unimaginable. The gift that you will then be able to give to your family is priceless. They get to see you as a brave warrior fighting for happiness. My son asked me the other day, Mom, are you still working on yourself? Because I've been pretty transparent about my journey. And my answer to him was, yeah, bud, always. I am always seeking to grow and learn and be the best mom and the best wife. And here's the new one. Here's the new one that came in. And the best friend to myself that I can be. And if we want our kids to develop a growth mindset, we need to model it. And if we want our kids to live a happy life, we need to model it. I do not want my kids to turn into the old me that I modeled for the first 10, 12 years of their lives, chasing happiness through success and rushing around like crazy to keep everything from falling apart. I thought that was my job. I thought I was holding everything together. I was stressed out and exhausted, and I was showing that to my kids. I do not want my kids to think that they need to sacrifice themselves for everyone around them in order to be a valuable human, which was what my programming told me. I didn't realize it because programming is subconscious. I thought I was being a valuable human. But all of that changed when I started reconnecting with my true self. And now I model happiness and balance. I have a better relationship with my kids because I'm parenting from a place much closer to my true self than my programmed self, which is where I used to be parenting, which means that I'm also helping them stay much closer to their true selves too. And so if this is the kind of life that you want to live, I would like to invite you to the Bridge to Your Best Life program. This is a 6-month program that will teach you exactly how to reconnect with yourself so that you can feel confident in your decisions, know how to replenish your energy and how to set boundaries, and then how to use the tools that you learn in that program for the rest of your life so that you can keep moving closer and closer to your true self. You can find out more at my website, mindbs.ca/best life. So your light cannot shine when it is covered by the armor of your old programming. But your light is beautiful and brilliant, and it deserves to be seen. Returning to myself by shedding my old programming was the greatest gift I could give myself and my family. And I've made it my mission to help busy parents who've lost themselves in the busyness that comes with being a working parent find for themselves happiness and fulfillment in the daily grind so that they can model a life of joy for their kids and ripple out that for generations to come. Thanks for being here today, for showing up for yourself. Have a brilliant day. Mwah. Join me in my Blissfully Busy Facebook group to see if we can figure out how to dodge burnout together.